Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 137, 5 things you need to do before any speaking engagement. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Small Biz Life. We're so glad that you're with us this week. And, we know that speaker season is starting up. We know that a lot of you have proposals out there. And it doesn't matter if you're speaking like on a stage to a big group or if you're speaking with a chamber of commerce or maybe like a Lions Club or Rotary Club. These are things that you really need to think about before you take the stage or before you take the podium. Okay, so these are really simple things. And I think they're things, when I talk to people who speak, they're like, oh my God, I totally forgot that.
Yes.
So there's nothing here that's like earth shattering or mind blowing. But this is a good little checklist. You might want to kind of, maybe write this stuff on a sticky note or, type it out and maybe like make this, your desktop if you're doing a lot of speaker proposals. But these are things that kind of, as I was speaking over the years, that I was like, oh yeah, I got to remember this. Oh yeah, don't forget that.
Yes, we're assuming that you have a good speech.
Yes.
You've practiced the speech, you've got the gigs, but these are the simple things that people forget whenever they do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have an episode with Aurora Gregory that she talks about, speaking engagements, how to be a better speaker. So you can go listen to that episode. We'll link it in the show notes for this episode. With this episode, as with all of our episodes, if you go to smallbiz.life / whatever episode number, which in this case would be /137, you can get directly to the show notes. So that's smallbiz.life / 137 to get to the show notes for this episode. And this,
But it's after it actually goes live. So if you see it here on Facebook before next Monday, you will not see it.
yeah, absolutely. It'll be, these episodes go live on Mondays, but you can always watch them. If you've never watched us on Facebook, you can actually watch our episodes. We record them usually the Tuesday before, sometimes the Wednesday before. If you go to our Small Biz Life podcast page, we've got events set up for all of them. And so if you want to join us, you can. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the first one. So the first one, and I think that this is really common sense, but a lot of people totally forget this. The first thing that you need to make sure you have is you need to make sure you have business cards. Every time I have spoken, I have people who come up to me afterwards and say, oh my God, can I have your card? How can I get in touch with you? How can I connect with you?
Yeah,
And it's one of those, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this is one of those like really things Chris and I push, and really you need to get practice at carrying some business cards on you all of the time. But when you're going to something where you're speaking, especially if it's a larger event, you really need to make sure you have lots. Bring all of your extras, keep them in a backpack with you when you go to speak so you do not run out.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny. I think Jeff brings up a really good point. We did a whole episode on whether or not the business card was dead. It was one of the first episodes we ever did. When I won the Hartford Business Journal 40 Under 40, they had a big dinner in September. And, people were coming up to me, oh my God, can I have your card? How do I learn more about what you're doing? You just naturally talk to people and they ask for your card. It's very important to have business cards with you wherever you go. I know a lot of times we say, oh, you can just go to my website or you can go, but a business card is a physical reminder of your business. And at some point, that person is going to clean out their purse, clean out their pocket, and they're going to run across your business card again.
And here's another quick tip too, because a lot of times you'll receive business cards from people, and a lot of times it's people you actually want to follow up with. My big thing is, have a little symbol and a good marker to where you can sort of make a symbol on a card to remind you that you need to follow up with someone. And maybe you have a couple different symbols. An asterisk might mean that they want to learn, they want information on a product or service. Another, maybe a plus sign might mean they want to network with you to figure out if there's a way to build a business partnership together. So have a couple quick symbols to remind yourself on why you got the card and to remind you to help follow up with people who you meet as well too.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. Okay, so first one, make sure you have business cards. and I can't. It's funny because we have a mastermind meeting
Mm-hmm.
um, on, it starts Friday, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a 3-day mastermind, and I'm so excited about this. Um, and I have to remember to pack business cards. I have to make sure that I actually have some in my purse and make sure that Jeff has some on him when he goes. Um, so we got to make sure that we've got that. Um, okay, so the second one is, and it's funny how many people forget this one as well. Um, have somebody to take pictures for you from the stage. I know a lot of people, they're trying to build up their speaking repertoire. They need pictures of themselves for their websites, for their Facebook, for their social media. And one of the great ways to do that is to have a friend, and even better, if you've got a friend who can take video of you. So you've got like some B-roll, or you can take samples of your speech and cut it up and put it on your social media, on your Instagram, on your Facebook. It's a really great way um, to get some stock footage of yourself, to get some pictures of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're in your element. Like if you're a speaker and you're a trainer and this is something you do, you want to have pictures of doing that.
Mm-hmm. You need those action shots, I think they like to call them.
Yeah, absolutely. So really important to make sure, bring a friend. Most of the time, if you're speaking, you can bring somebody with you and they're not going to care. They kind of expect that, that you might have a team who comes with you to do things like this. And so absolutely, you don't have to have like an amazing camera. You just need to have something that's decent. And frankly, if you've got, a current generation iPhone or a current generation Samsung phone, a current generation LG, you're going to have a really good camera in that. And so, make sure that you're getting that footage,
Hmm.
because you'll be amazed what that can do for somebody that's a speaker. Even if you have like a little 30-second
Mm-hmm.
chunk of your speech on video that you can put out on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
you now have speaker roles so that when somebody is looking to hire you as a speaker, you now have an example of what you look like on stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And so it
exactly.
makes people it's much easier for people to make a decision on you if you have that type of video
Mm-hmm.
ready for them.
Yeah, and a little sideways too. Link all that stuff if it's really important to you, and you have that speaker page on your website. Make sure to put embed some of those things right there. If it's a bigger conference, go grab the YouTube video they put up and link to it there, or get your own to put up on that page to give lots of examples of the type of things you like to talk about, and it helps the people who are making the determination for the next gig know a little bit more about your ability to deliver, and will you make sense for their conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Okay, so remember, so the first one is business cards. The number 2 we just went over was bring a friend to take pictures or video.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, know the
Mm.
tech landscape. Okay. And what we mean by that is know what tech is going to be available to you in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's funny, it's little things like, like last time I spoke, I asked like beforehand, I'm like, so is there a computer? Like, should I send you my slides? They're like, well, it's going to be at the library. We don't know if there's a computer. So you might want to bring your own computer. Like, well, is there a projector? We think so, but we're not positive. And so, like, I'm sitting there, like, I had this presentation that was all done, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I might not even be able to use it,
Yeah.
you know? And actually, it was funny because when I gave that speech halfway through, their projector overheated.
Mm-hmm.
And so halfway through, I lost my slides
Mm-hmm.
and all I could do was see them on the computer. And so it's really important to understand like up front. And a lot of times, especially if you're speaking to smaller groups, they're not going to think of these things. Make sure you understand you need to bring your own computer.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have, like, can you project slides at all?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that even an option?
Because why waste the time to make these big fancy slides if no one's going to be able to use them? It might be good to go through the process so you can use it to practice and go over your speech, but it's going to be very simple, very plain to help you with the timing. It's not going to be something with animations and fancy transitions because there's no point to keep the crowd engaged with them if they can't see them.
Right. And so, if there are visuals that are really important to your presentation, you might have to do handouts instead.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you get that addressed early, so that you don't do work that doesn't need to be done, and so that you're not scrambling at the last minute to adjust. Okay. So the kind of things
Mhm.
you want to ask about is whether you should bring a computer. Is there a projector at all? Um, how should you bring your presentation? So if you're bringing
Mhm.
your own computer, you can just put the presentation on your computer. But if you're using somebody else's computer, do they want the presentation ahead of time? Um, what system should you do it in? So, like, should it be in PowerPoint? What if they don't have PowerPoint? Should it be in
Mhm.
something like Google Slides? Will there be internet? So, if you're using Google Slides, can you pull them down?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say I've actually known people who've had to give presentations, who've put together really nice Prezi presentations. Which, if you don't know Prezi, they're pretty neat stuff, but you need an internet connection. And
Mhm.
then there wasn't a great communication. It was a smaller group they were talking to. Did not realize uh, that there's no internet, and the people didn't really think up front about this, even though there was a way to give slides. They didn't tell them that they couldn't use the internet. So when the person showed up, they spent all of this time on a great presentation that no one ever saw.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen too, where, I think, PC people always assume that everything's PC and Mac people always assume that everything's Mac. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, with like my college students where they'll have their presentation and it's in like Mac's version of Office, not like MS Office, but it's like Mac has its own slides.
Mm.
Um, and they can't open it on a PC,
Mm.
and then they don't have their presentation. So knowing the tech landscape is critically important to your
Mhm.
success in this area. So the next two are more about like building your audience. Okay.
Mhm.
So, we said business cards, very important. Make sure you get some pictures, know the tech landscape. Um, I'm a huge fan of this. This is why for number 4, we have 36 domains. I actually counted them last night because I bought a new one because this is what we do.
We've been on a
Um,
current spree again, buying domains.
yeah. Yeah. So make sure that you have a simple URL to get people on your list.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that's going to be, maybe if you have a particular speaking topic that you have a URL for them to go to that's,
Mhm.
I speak, you know, ispeakbusiness.com and they go to that and that's where they sign up,
Mhm.
or speakingtips.com and they go and that's where they sign
Mhm.
up. Or you can have a site, you can have a page on your website. So maybe your website is smallbiz.life.com
Mhm.
slash speaking,
Yes.
and you can go there. Okay. And you can send people there. Or we've actually done for different events that we did. So when we did podcast movement, we had smallbizlife.com slash PM17. And
Mhm.
so people could go right there to get it. So it's really not hard if you know a little bit about the web, especially if you have a WordPress site. The stuff is really
Mhm.
easy. So if you're using something like Thrive Themes,
Yep.
super easy to do.
Yeah, super easy to do. There's a plugin for WordPress called Pretty Links that I love for this. You don't have to understand anything about DNS or how to create redirect rules. You literally just go in to the plugin, you say, this URL points here, and you're done. And I really do suggest, if you're doing an event, especially a bigger event where people know the event more than they maybe know you,
Mhm.
um, it's really smart, I believe, to have that slash PM 17 for pocket when we did our podcast movement speech, because people do podcast movement, very few of them had ever heard of us.
Yeah.
So and same thing, like if you go on interviews for other podcasts, or you do something with like a guest post on someone's site, make it easy for the audience to get back to you, but include the people you're coming from, because they probably know them better than you.
Yeah, and another thing that you can do, and some of these services are a little bit expensive, but if
Mhm.
you're doing a lot of speaking, um, you can get services that will allow text to join, which
Mhm.
means people, they text a word to a number,
Mhm.
and then it sends them a text. They enter their email address, and now they're on your list.
Yeah.
Um,
That's definitely a
and you
great
can,
way. Yeah, and just check with your email provider to make sure it integrates, so you don't end up with a huge headache at the end trying to figure out how to get these into your email system.
yeah, absolutely. But if you Google text to join, you can find you can find some of these services. I
Mhm.
know Lead Pages has one called Lead Digits.
Mhm.
I think there's actually one called Text to Join. So there's a couple different services out there that you can use. And that's a really cool way because most people, no matter how great of a speaker you are, most
Mhm.
people are sitting there and they're futzing with their phone while
Mhm.
you're speaking. And so, if you say, hey, if you want this free giveaway or you want whatever, always make sure that if you're doing something like this, have a giveaway
Yeah.
or the slides or something that you're giving them. A checklist is always a good thing, to incentivize them to
Yeah.
join your list.
At a minimum, always make your slides available. And I know too, it's like I think Active Campaigns, if they're your email provider, I believe they have one
Mhm.
built into their system. So you can work with them to just use what's built in already.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of good services for that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, speeches are a really good way to do list building. Um, so make sure that you make it really easy for people. Again, I think the easiest way is text message for most
Mhm.
audiences, but a really easy URL will also work just fine.
Mhm.
And if and here's another bonus, if you're doing specialized business cards for events, like let's say that you're doing a series of speeches on the same topic,
Mhm.
and so you're just going to have one landing page that said, hey, thank you so much for attending my speech, on, titled X, you know, opt in here, have special business cards that actually have the URL, the special URL on the back.
To the landing page.
Yep, to the landing page. So whether it's, a .com or it's .com slash, whatever, put it on that business card and then use those, when you go out to those speaking engagements.
Mm.
Okay. And that's, most, we talk about landing pages. A landing page is just a website with a specific purpose, right? So traffic is going to land there. It's usually not going to come from, your general website. They're coming
Mm.
there for a purpose, and that purpose in this case is to sign up to get whatever you're going to give them after the speech. So, you can build if you've got WordPress. They're really easy to build in WordPress. We use Thrive themes. Thrive themes
Yes.
makes it super easy to build these so that they look like they're really part of your site. But
Mhm.
really all you're doing is you're making a page on your website, right? So if you're working with WordPress, you can literally just create a page,
Mhm. And the page has
customize the
one job.
URL. hmm And the only thing that this page is going to do is it's going to thank them for attending your speech, and it's going to have opt-in information so that you can give them the giveaway.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's super easy, super easy. Okay, so the last one, so we said business cards, bring somebody to take pictures, know the tech landscape, have a simple URL, or do text to join your list. And then this one is critically important, if you don't want to piss off the people that you're speaking
Mhm.
for. Know if you can sell from the stage.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that this is, you know, most times, um, the organizations that you go speak for really don't make this clear. They don't even make it clear whether or not you can, direct people to sign up for your list. This is a question you have to ask. You can't assume it's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I
Oh,
agree. So, yeah, I think, in general, finding out from any organization, and not just if you can sell, but sort of with their audience, what's appropriate, especially if you're more blue. And by blue, I mean, uh, if you're inappropriate, if you're very Jeffrey inclined, sometimes your mouth might slip out and say certain words that certain people might be offended by. And you have to learn to moderate that in certain circumstances. It's like Kristin actually has a shocker set up, so I get an electrical shock if I start to swear during the podcast when we're live, just to help with that. But sometimes it's okay to be graphic, and in some circumstances, it might actually be very fitting to the audience you're speaking to. But it's very important to know who your audience is from the people who host the event to help you, one, tailor something more memorable for that audience, but also, and like Kristen said, sometimes if you cross that selling point on some stages, it will get you uh, banned essentially, and on other stages, you know, they're going to think that you're insane. It's like, what product were you pitching? You know,
Mhm.
you went through an hour speech, 45 minutes in, we were waiting for your pitch and it never came. You just taught. It was really good stuff, but, you know, why didn't you try and sell us something? You know, because some environments people go to, that's the expectation.
Right. And when we're talking about selling from the stage, it's like sometimes, I've spoken in arenas where if you've got a book, you can't even mention your book.
Mm-hmm.
They just want you to educate people. So you have to make sure, like, am I allowed to talk about my book? Am I
Mm-hmm.
allowed to talk about my course? Am I allowed to give out a URL so people can connect with me? Or maybe the only opportunity you have is talking to people afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So really understand, like, I know, if you go talk to like a Rotary Club, you can't do business at Rotary. It's
Mm-hmm.
not allowed. And so Rotary has very strict rules about what you can say, how you can pitch. Really, you can't pitch
Mm-hmm.
when you are speaking with them. A lot of groups are like that. So if you know ahead of time that, hey, I can't even mention my website or I can't mention my sign up, you're going to have to do a lot more networking in that room after the presentation's
Mm-hmm.
over. And so you've got to kind of make sure that you get a business card into every single person's hand.
Yeah. It also depends on your time restrictions. That might help you realize which events make more sense for you or don't. Because if I can't sell at all, and the only way I can actually even get my website into people's hands is by networking afterwards, if I don't have time to do that because I have a very busy schedule, lots of things are going on. I know which opening we'll be using here. Yes, but if I know I can't do that, I'm very sorry about that. If I know that I can't do that and I don't have time to network, the event might not be worth it for me at that point.
Mhm.
Now, maybe I'm just looking for general name exposure in the area. That's great. And if you can afford to give up your time to get just that, feel free. But realize from a business opportunity, it's unlikely you'll get anything back.
Right. And so, when you're considering speaking engagements, these are really good questions to ask. Because for example, like if you're not allowed to mention your website or say anything about your business, but you're allowed to have slides and your slides can have, like we have a template that we use when we speak and it says Small Biz Life at the bottom. Right. And so if you've ever seen any of our webinars, you'll see that we have this little thing. It says Small Biz Life at the bottom. We use it for Small Biz HQ. But what this allows us to do is even if we can't really mention like our business a whole lot, or we can't, give you a URL, at least every single slide you see says Small
Mm,
Biz Life on it.
yeah.
And I've never had anybody say, no, that's not okay.
Hmm.
But you can, but ask about that too. Say, hey, listen, I've got this slide deck that I use. It's got my, it just has our logo at the bottom. Is that okay?
Hmm.
Because some organizations, especially nonprofits, they can get really picky
Hmm.
about this stuff. And so when you're evaluating whether or not you want to speak to a group, ask these kind of things. Hey, can I hand out business cards? Can I, at the end, can I give out a website so people can get my slides and get more information about me? Can I mention that I have a book? Is that okay? Um, sometimes they'll even, groups will even allow you to sell your books,
Hmm.
after your speech and do a book signing, so kind of figure out before you say yes
Hmm.
what you're allowed to do. Because like I know Melissa was watching, um, Melissa has the book out, and if she's going to speak, it would be really helpful for her if she could sell her book at the end of the
Hmm.
speech. So, is that something that she would be allowed to do? Ask all of these questions up front before you even accept the engagement.
Hmm.
Because, like,
Yes.
there's nothing worse than saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to speak. And then you find out there's no tech. You can't bring a friend. There's going to be 2 or 3 people there. You can't really pitch your site. But you've already like locked in to say that you were going to do it.
Yeah. I know we've actually done an event where we went in and the demographic of who was there was nowhere even close to our avatar and way too young, you might say. And this is also with the friends, so we probably would have done it either way. But, it's one of those things where, you know, we went in and we probably did a lot more prep work than we would have if we realized who the audience was.
Mhm. Yeah. So, just and that's also, Jeff makes a really good point, is figure out like who the audience is, who their members are. Because, if you go into a speech, and it's funny because like when we walked into that one, we saw the crowd was younger. We were able to adapt really quickly.
Hmm.
Um, so we were kind of talking about like businesses that they could start. So we talked a lot about YouTube and online businesses and stuff like that. Which actually it got them engaged, which was really cool. But if you can talk to your audience, and the message really hits home with them, you're going to make so much more of an impact. And so, ask who their members are, ask what they're interested in. Um, because you will make much more of an impression on people if they think that you've customized what you're talking about just for them.
Hmm.
Okay. So, real quick, just to recap what we talked about, make sure you've got business cards. And hey, if you're going to do a lot of speaking this summer, or over the next 6 months, get business cards just for that with that custom URL with the landing page. Bring a friend to take pictures and video, know what to expect in the tech landscape. Have a simple URL that you've got printed on the back of those business cards to make it
Hmm.
easy for people to get to you, and know what you're allowed to do from the stage. Can you sell? Can you mention your book? Can you mention your website or not?
Hmm.
Okay. So, um, I'd love to hear, if you've got tips on speaking, head over to the Small Biz Life community. We'd love to get your feedback on your speaking tips, and maybe that'll be the Tuesday tip for next week. But thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.